Hi. I'm kind of convinced actually that people, and I use the term people because it's a very broad umbrella to place us all under. People come in various shades, colours, genders, sexes, creeds, philosophical, ideological, sort of religious, non-religious. They come in all forms. It's really difficult to categorise them. Personality psychology, social psychology, is proof of this. The extraordinary lengths that, for example, clinicians and clinical psychologists, sociologists to an extent, anthropologists to an extent, go to with the aid of statistics and statisticians to measure and attempt to understand generally qualitative data, non-numerical, turned into numerical through statistical manipulation, proves that the human being and its personal worldview is based not necessarily on the complete assimilation of a various worldview or perspective, pertaining, of course, to the idea of ideological, political, religious, non-religious, philosophical, and a mixing and creating a sort of spectrum of those entities I've just mentioned and others, resulting in a magnificent, frankly, I think, magnificently complex continuum of consciousness. That is the ordinary person. It's miraculous. It's more miraculous, what I've just mentioned. It's more astonishing than any mythology, any fiction. It's astoundingly complex. And it baffles my mind attempting to even explain the tip of the veritable iceberg that is the ordinary human psychology. We can't do it. We can't map it. We have fluctuations in our behaviours, moods, appetites. We change from moment to moment. We are a singularity in time. We are different from our past. And our future will be different from now. I'm convinced, though, absolutely convinced, that the human being, the ordinary person, man, woman, ultimately have to fasten themselves to various, I suppose we could create the allegory of a sea. The sea itself, the ocean, can be extraordinarily calm at times, and can, of course, in environmental basis, represent various echelons of activity with regards to environment, stimuli, and reaction to that stimuli that we could describe as sort of, I suppose we could say, gale force winds or storm counting. And it's different for different people. It's a subjective, introspective experience that we attempt in one way or another to project to others with a hope that others may understand our predicament. I say predicament because it's not always comfortable. Communication is a risk. And in and during the process of discourse or communication, there is ample room for miscommunication, for the various reasons I've just explained, and probably many more that I can't think of at the moment. Yeah. But as I say, I'm absolutely convinced that regardless of culture, regardless of philosophical outlook, regardless of religious or non-religious opinion, regardless of politic, if you sit down and speak to people in a mature, pragmatic enough way, most people are okay. They're all right. It's easy enough to engage in small talk. And only a fool, in my humble opinion, would progress beyond that point. even with the ordinary acquaintance. It's my humble opinion that one should only really share the intricacies, the important facets of our opinion on our worldview with those who we respect. You can only really respect people once you get to know them. And occasionally when you get to know people, you find out you don't respect them at all, which is always a sad disappointment, I find. But, as I say, I mean, you can never quite gauge, I find, the reactions that people have to perhaps me, perhaps you, perhaps someone else. And it's tempting to often think that it may be your fault or my fault that people may be reacting the way they are. I used to think this many years ago. I'm kind of pleased in a way, or at least satisfied, in a sort of serenely indifferent way, that I find that most people bring to the discourse of communicative interaction their own psychological realms. And sometimes, in a minority, statistically, it can be abnormal. People can bring to the discourse, for example, a naive point of view with regards to discourse. They believe they can ask any question. They believe they can counter, navigate, traverse, overpower sensible parameters of respect. They can also bring to the table a sad history based on abuse, dissatisfaction, bitterness, unhappiness. And it's very easy for these types of people to project their psychological landscape on everything that they meet and they see, they encounter. It's like the spectres of the past have taken up residence in the current, I suppose, theatre. I say theatre because it's a viewing experience, referring to the notion of observer with regards to introspective and subjective interaction, and attempting to navigate, traverse, and jump the bridge between introspective worldview, between the communicative process, right? So it's a difficult thing. But most people are fine. Whether they're Buddhists, whether they're pagans, whether they're, I don't know, atheists, agnostics, Christians, Muslims, most people are all right. It's just the ones that sort of are in that abnormal category, They need a bit of help, I think. Not necessarily because they make other people's lives unhappy. Regularly, I think, and it's fair to say that society quickly locates these types of people and puts them in between and in parameters of operation regarding lifestyle interaction, which limits the effects of their inability to perceive a reasonable view of reality. And that's sensible, that's needed for everyone's safety, really. But as I say to finish, I mean, most people are okay. And you've got to give people room, really. Everyone has a bad day. We're not perfect. No one is. No one's infallible. Beware anyone that attempts to project the personality, or should I say poisonality, that they are infallible, that they are perfect, that they are above you, that they're above me, that they're evolved beyond the ordinary human being. It's a nonsense. It's a dangerous, dangerous perspective to have with regards to one's own ability humanity, empathy, understanding sympathy, the attempt to map and explore the various differences that exist between us all to varying degrees is a really fun task. It's how we learn. Of course, I myself come from the United Kingdom, Great Britain. I'm in Scotland. We have, and sincerely, you would be very surprised, people, we have a wonderful cultural mix of people here. Most people get on. People are allowed space to operate, to interact. It's a wonderful situation to be in, and it's very different, actually, from some of the situations we see elsewhere in the world, which is very disappointing for me, often to see. But anyway, I'm just trying to, detail some of the important, I think, attributes that we should bear in mind, attributes of discourse, especially when we're dealing with people who, if we put it in a sort of colloquial or folklorish way, are not quite the full shilling, as they used to say at the turn of the century. In other words, they're one can short of a six-pack of beer. Life has battered them, cajoled them. They're not all there. Pain, duress, inability to cope has marred, masked, fogged the spectacles that they attempt to understand and view reality with. And patience is very important, but also a need to recognize that there are some states of existence, some actions which cannot be tolerated, regardless of one's stance of philosophy, politics, religion, non-religion, ideology. We're all the one species. I realise, of course, that some people are absolutely adamant and, trying in one way or another to project an argumentation to the contrary of that. But we really are all connected. We're extraordinarily similar. Not only in a biological way, but in a psychological way as well. Which is astounding to me when we consider the often magnificent, vast differences that are exhibited in a cultural and sociological, ideological, philosophical, religious, non-religious, political arenas. Marvellous. And if you can't arrive at a conclusion that you think humanity is at least fascinating, after that, then, I don't know, we'd probably have to have a conversation about it. Okay, I think I've talked too much there. Have a cool day. Bye for now.